Yuji, a man with godlike talents, has just arrived in a new world. He can learn any magic by simply glancing at a book and release intense magic attacks with a wave of his hand. Even with negative hundreds of thousands of MP, he remains unscathed. A week ago, Yuji was working overtime at his company. He woke up to find himself lying outdoors with a system panel in front of him. Seeing his job listed as Beast Tamer made him wonder if he had been staring at screens too long, joking that his real job should be corporate slave. When he tried to stand up, he accidentally touched a slime and tamed it immediately. Guided by the slime, Yuji found a cabin filled with magic books. After casually reading one, he mastered its magic and his HP and MP mysteriously increased. While still confused, countless slimes appeared around him. Through reading books with the slimes, he could learn the magic within them. At this moment, his panel displayed a new job title, Sage, and Yuji could now understand the slime's language. On his way to the town, Yuji found a fainting dryad. Using the slime, he transferred magic to her and purified the magic stones around her. The dryad woke up, but still felt unwell. Suddenly, numerous monsters emerged from the magic stones. Yuji effortlessly used a skill to annihilate the monsters. The dryad, considering Yuji her savior, gave him flowers that could be used as recovery materials. The slime continued to accompany Yuji. Suddenly, a fierce wolf-like monster appeared in the forest, threatening Yuji, but was quickly subdued by a magical net and cowered on the ground. Yuji then initiated beast communication. The beast tearfully begged for mercy, willing to do anything to avoid death. Reluctantly, Yuji tamed it. Back to the present, Yuji encountered a humanoid monster while on a mission. With just one fireball from the slime, he knocked it down and prepared to return to town, unaware of the magic stone dropped by the monster, similar to the one found near the dryad. In the Adventurers Guild, a member named Gale claimed to have seen a fire-breathing slime, but his peers mocked him for hallucinating. When Yuji entered, everyone's attention turned to him. The receptionist thought Yuji had failed his mission, but the slime spat out more than the required mission items, shocking everyone. The branch manager acknowledged Yuji's exceptional skills as a beast tamer and decided to buy all of his flowers. Suddenly, someone rushed in to report that nearly 10,000 monsters had appeared in the forest and were heading towards the town. The branch manager urged the adventurers to flee, but they insisted on staying to protect the town. Amidst the argument, Yuji raised his hand, claiming he had a solution. He let the slime spit out a dragon bone, claiming it could replicate dragon breath but could only be used once. Although skeptical, Gale's sighting of Yuji's slime convinced everyone to trust Yuji. Everyone prepared their weapons for battle. Yuji ordered Proud Wolf to retrieve all the slime cameras in the forest. Faced with a swarm of monsters, the adventurers threw magical items. After it shot them, the items exploded, releasing ice spike magic for attack. But this did not lessen the monsters' assault. The adventurers had to fight with their bodies. At that moment, Yuji stopped holding back. He allowed the slime to consume the useless dragon bone and started magical creation to protect the city and attack over a wide area. The cameras detected a suspicious person in the forest with a magic stone, undoubtedly responsible for the attack. Yuji instructed the enhanced slime to capture this person. Then, he enclosed the magic stone with a magical barrier and performed a dispelling spell to purify it. The person screamed, wishing for the filthy world to find redemption, and eventually died after activating a backup hidden power source. Yuji, not dwelling on it, immediately ordered the slime to release fireballs to assist the adventurers. Due to the vast number of monsters, he decided to gather all the slimes outside the city to form a huge barrier to protect the town and launch an attack without affecting the people. Even with his MP in the negative, the talented Yuji used his HP to compensate and launched the barrier and a powerful attack, annihilating all monsters but then collapsed from exhaustion. Waking up, Yuji, not wanting to cause a stir, left alone for the next city. Despite his intentions to avoid attention, Yuji always stood out wherever he went. He and the slime had a particular fondness for food, especially meat. After eating his fill, Yuji went to register at the Adventurers Guild. The receptionist said it was difficult to register a beast tamer. but upon discovering Yuji's enemy detection ability, she allowed him to pass without conditions due to its impressive nature. After registration, a short swordsman invited Yuji to join their team, which included an archer, Tina, and a gunner, Lisa. They hadn't met Yuji before. Hearing that he was new and a beast tamer, the man doubted his combat ability, but the women valued his enemy detection ability for the mission, preferring to avoid monsters rather than confront them directly. They expressed a strong desire for Yuji to join, and thus he became a member of the team. In the forest, Proud Wolf was on high alert and detected monsters 2 kilometers from Yuji. When Yuji shared this, his teammates were amazed at detecting from such a distance. The swordsman, upon reaching the location and finding the monsters, gained a new respect for Yuji. After some discussion, the swordsman executed the monsters. That night, the team chose to camp away from the main path. Tina asked who taught Yuji his enemy locking technique. Yuji, unsure of how to respond, simply said he suddenly learned it, unable to reveal it was the slime. The swordsman then decided the order for the night watch. Tina first, then himself, followed by Yuji, and Lisa last. At that time, Yuji felt nothing unusual. In the middle of the night, the slime informed Yuji that the swordsman on watch had disappeared. The 2 women, thinking Yuji was not good at fighting, decided to chase the swordsman themselves to see what he was up to. The swordsman ran into a cabin deep in the forest and was discussing a deal with a leader inside. It turned out the swordsman was a human trafficker who kidnapped women. He planned to make it look like the women had escaped during a mission so no one would suspect him. Yuji decided to let the monsters take care of him. Unbeknownst to them, Yuji had clearly heard their conversation. Just then, the 2 women accidentally triggered a trap, alerting the people inside the cabin. They prepared for a fight to the death. At this moment, Proud Wolf and the slime deliberately triggered traps to distract the enemies. They formed a terrifying monster in the dark, scaring the people inside into deciding to retreat. After Yuji helped the 2 women escape, he searched for a simple and useful spell. A cold air swept through, freezing the enemies in place. The women discovered the dead leader on the ground was a notorious thief. However, the team now lacked a combat specialist, which was problematic for the mission. Confident, Yuji assured them he believed in his ability. A strange wind often blew through the valley, and Yuji had the slime scout the area. He informed his teammates that he had not found the earth dragon yet. They praised Yuji's slime as being extraordinary and capable of finding it. Yuji recalled his adventurer's exam where he easily burst a crystal ball, shocking everyone. Next, he used a powerful fireball without chanting, surprising the instructor who thought he was not ordinary. To avoid repeating that awkward situation, Yuji decided to limit his power and secretly let the slime handle the monsters. Indeed, all the monsters were eliminated, allowing the team to avoid them perfectly. At that moment, an anomaly appeared in the sky. An ancient legend spoke of an evil descending on a blue moonlit night, heralding the arrival of a blue dragon. Sure enough, after an explosion, the blue dragon appeared. Yuji noticed this phenomenon and the giant monster. He immediately instructed Proud Wolf to retrieve all the cameras hidden in the forest and then clear the way for the team. He cast spells from a distance, overcoming obstacles. Unexpectedly, an earth dragon burst from the ground. He instructed his teammates to hide behind rocks, facing the monster himself. Concerned for his teammates, he first used weaker magic to restrain it. He launched several magic grenades, but they were ineffective. However, this was just Yuji showing a vulnerability. When the earth dragon lunged at him, Yuji used a powerful fire spell, annihilating it. Later, back at the Adventurers Guild, they learned that Yuji not only investigated but also defeated the earth dragon and exposed the thief. He received a reward of 1407 million. The branch manager then invited Yuji to a meeting to discuss how to deal with the blue dragon, starting with Yuji describing what the blue dragon looked like. Yuji printed a photo of the blue dragon. The priest warned that the blue dragon would bring disaster, but a hero would defeat it. He mentioned that a divine summoning ritual was held in the capital 30 years ago, activated a week ago, summoning a deity with the power to combat evil. Suddenly, the sky changed, and the blue dragon grew larger. The branch manager decided to gather all forces to attack the blue dragon the next morning. That night, The priest gave Yuji a sacred artifact from the capital, a short sword capable of focusing magic at its tip. When Yuji asked why it was given to him, the priest smiled, saying it was divine will. Unable to sleep, Yuji rode through the forest on Proud Wolf, reaching a cliff and preparing to attack the blue dragon. Discovering its weakness to fire, Yuji launched a powerful spell, which unfortunately didn't harm the dragon, but enraged it. The blue dragon then absorbed magic from the destroyed forest to grow larger. With no other choice, Yuji pinned his hopes on the short sword. The blue dragon attacked with a laser, but Yuji blocked it with a barrier and then used the slime to create a defensive shield below the dragon. Leaping towards it, Yuji stabbed the dragon's eye, followed by a blinding light. Before the dragon fell, it knocked Yuji back, depleting his MP. As the blue dragon continued its assault, Yuji struggled to defend. During this, a new skill appeared on his panel. Relying on this new skill, Yuji defeated the blue dragon with another powerful spell. The next morning, news of the dragon's defeat spread, bringing joy to everyone. The priest left the city. Yuji casually dined with two women, hearing about a city with mild weather and abundant cuisine, planning his next journey. Before leaving, he left the slime to scout. On the way, he met Dryad at the site where the blue dragon was defeated. Dryads grew mushrooms there, useful for making mana recovery potions. Yuji helped pick them. Afterward, Dryad made a potion with the blue mushrooms, but it turned out red, likely due to impure water. Yuji then used his knowledge of science and the slime to distill and purify the water, though it took a long time. Yuji asked, "Why does this potion look so similar to the color of magic stones?" Dryad replied, "It's probably due to the dragon's grace in the magic stones. When the dragon is defeated, the resulting mushrooms are rich in magic and can be turned into magic stones." At that moment, the slime finished distilling the water. Dryad handed the completed mana recovery potion to Yuji and then left. On his way to the gourmet town, Yuji encountered a thick fog and stumbled into a strange village. The villagers, smiling warmly, seemed to welcome him. The village chief hosted a meal for Yuji, who said he wasn't hungry. Learning that Yuji wanted to go to the gourmet city but got lost in the fog, the chief was relieved. After Yuji left, the chief discussed something mysterious with a person in a crystal ball. As Yuji continued his journey, it began to snow heavily. He activated a warming magic, commenting on the convenience of such cheats. Eventually, Yuji arrived at the gourmet city, only to find it deserted and covered in snow. At a restaurant, he was informed there was no firewood for cooking. To enjoy a good meal, Yuji went to the forest to chop wood. He summoned an axe and began cutting trees. Then, he let the slime absorb the moisture from the wood and transport it. The Michelin chef, initially dismayed at the dry wood, was shocked to see the perfect condition of the wood after Yuji magically moistened it. Soon, a steak was served, bursting with juice and flavor, the best dish Yuji had ever tasted in this world. He wished to eat there every day, but the staff mentioned the city's severe shortage of wood. Determined to enjoy delicious meals daily, Yuji accepted a quest from the Adventurers Guild to collect firewood. The logging instructor mentioned the city needed 5 tons of wood daily, but reassured the slim Yuji not to overexert himself. However, Yuji's powerful chopping amazed everyone, and he soon brought back 3 days' worth of wood for the entire city, stunning everyone again. To alleviate the city's difficulties, Yuji took on all the wood collection tasks just to enjoy delicious food. After a long stewing process, the beef's profound flavor exploded, a divine culinary delight, according to the chef. The chef mentioned that if a certain vegetable could be found, even tastier stews could be made, but it had been destroyed by monsters. Unable to stand this, Yuji vowed to act and defeated 50 monsters in the forest. During his search, he found a spherical object that turned black and absorbed his magic when he infused it with his power. Dryad speculated the sphere was man-made, causing the scarcity of magic in the area and the city's cold. Yuji decided to purify the 108 spheres spread in a circular pattern, suspecting something within the circle needed to be investigated. Yuji found an entrance at the center as expected. He went deep underground through the entrance and discovered a device for making magic stones. He intended to proceed cautiously, but a recent explosion had already alerted the guards. Yuji had no choice but to leave his slime to track them while he himself decided to leave. The slime tracked from underground, while Yuji followed from the forest above. Soon, he arrived at his destination, the strange village he had encountered before. Through the slime, he observed that the people here were members of the Salvation Warehouse organization. They were secretly making magic stones in this deserted village. The explosion had damaged the manufacturing device. The leader ordered his subordinates to retrieve 108 cursed stones from the forest and to eliminate any attackers. Seeing this, Yuji instructed the slime to surround the village and eliminate all the wrongdoers. He also sent out the remaining slimes to search for other villagers. During the search, they found numerous documents and materials which the slime swallowed to preserve. Meanwhile, members of the organization roaming the forest were also captured. However, they did not surrender easily and hastily activated a hidden energy source which could destroy everything. At that moment, the slime also took away a large amount of gold and silver treasures. Suddenly, when the members noticed the disappearance of the documents and funds, they reported to their leader. They learned that the explosion and missing items were Yuji's doing, but they assumed Yuji wouldn't act rashly, thinking that if anything happened to the people in the village, a device would activate the purification fire to burn everything to ashes. Since the device was broken and only a few of them were left, they decided to threaten mutual destruction. They then raised knives to their throats, and all 5 fell dead, activating the device. Seeing this, Yuji immediately gathered the slimes and started protective barriers. He then set up multiple barriers to block the flames, although it was challenging with the current setup. Unable to find stronger protective barriers, Yuji created one. He used the ultimate isolation killing formation to contain the flames. The intense energy consumption reduced his MP to below 400,000. Despite this, Yuji's expression remained unchanged, and he effortlessly managed the situation. Eventually, when his MP dropped to below 500,000, he successfully stopped the disaster. Returning to the village, the cold had receded, and the villagers invited Yuji to a celebration. They thanked him for the firewood he provided and prepared delicious dishes that made him extremely happy. In the evening, Yuji was organizing the documents in his room and shockingly found his name on an assassination list. To avoid assassination, he had to hurry to a new city known for making monster armor. However, on the way, he already spotted 2 assassins from the Salvation Moon organization. They were eager to deal with Yuji, but the female assassin explained that the disappearance of an adventurer would raise suspicions from the guild. If Yuji's strength was not a threat to the church, they would move on to the next target. Thus, the 2 assassins planned to monitor Yuji for a day. During the conversation, Yuji had already grasped the identities and abilities of the 2 assassins. He decided to feign weakness to remove himself from their assassination list. Consequently, the assassins followed Yuji to a town where he visited a monster armor shop. Pretending to be disheartened by poverty, Yuji left the shop and bumped into a man, apologizing profusely. He then instructed his slimes to scavenge for coins and pretended to drown his sorrows in a bar. Although the assassins still did not fully trust that Yuji was weak, he decided to further mislead them by accepting a simple quest to subdue a rampaging bull. Yuji chose not to fight himself, but let his proud wolf handle the combat. The wolf defeated the bull with a single blow. Observing the assassin's increasingly high regard for him, Yuji decided to heal the bull. Surprisingly, he even applied buffs to 2 rampaging bulls, thinking he had gone too far and attempted to buff his proud wolf, which the wolf refused. Despite the proud wolf's solo victory over the bull, the assassins concluded that Yuji was not exceptional since he struggled against an ordinary monster. As the assassins prepared to leave, Yuji secretly had his slimes follow them. Through the slimes, Yuji learned that their next target was a priest, prompting him to decide against letting them continue. He captured them in one stroke. The next day, Yuji returned to the monster armor shop. The shopkeeper recognized his remarkable physique, but apologized as the store had no ready-made armor to suit him, only custom-made requiring gems from a young fire dragon or a young blue dragon. Understanding this, Yuji went to the local adventurers guild to accept all quests involving the young fire dragon, astonishing the receptionist. Before heading to the habitat of the young fire dragon, Yuji discovered it was an active volcano. He consulted his slimes about the safety of approaching it, who suggested asking a red slime. Quickly taming the red slime, they assured him that the volcano was safe for that day. Yuji first arrived at a river with piranhas, which he killed effortlessly and cooked on the spot. As he advanced, he noticed an increase in the number of slimes. When he encountered a dragon, he was surprised that the slimes had not informed him earlier, showing fear. Facing the young fire dragon, Yuji used water magic effectively, knocking it down as it could not withstand low temperatures. The gem of the young fire dragon fell out immediately. Upon discovering a young blue dragon, Yuji surrounded it with about 10 slimes, attacking with water magic. However, this had little effect, and the slimes panicked. Yuji then tried a more intense cold spell, which also failed. He finally instructed the slimes to gather in front of the young blue dragon and use freezing magic to kill it. Now we can make the armor. Yuji spent the day from morning until night, exterminating a total of 220 young fire dragons. At the armor shop, Yuji displayed the blue gems, shocking the shopkeeper with his strength. Yuji not only had 2 blue gems, but the red gems spat out by the slimes were also of excellent quality. The next day, Proud Wolf, eager to test the newly equipped armor, switched with the slimes to try it out. Yuji asked if the armor could be magically enhanced. The shopkeeper confirmed it could be, but warned that Yuji's magic was too strong. Even the blue gems could not withstand it multiple times without a gem from a great fire dragon. Suddenly, all the young fire dragons went berserk. Yuji sent Proud Wolf and the slimes to investigate and spotted 2 suspicious figures. From a window, Yuji saw not only a volcanic eruption, but also a long-absent great fire dragon. He tried to catch the suspicious figures with a magic net from above, but they dodged easily. Then he attacked from behind with binding magic, which they also evaded, though Yuji was just pretending to be careless. The 2 suspicious individuals, failing their task, had to activate their backup hidden energy to self-destruct. Yuji, not dwelling on it, ordered the slimes to check their containers. The contents made the slimes uncomfortable, feeling like cursed magic stones. Yuji suggested having an expert look at it. Dryad explained it was cursed water, which couldn't harm the great fire dragon, but could enrage it. Yuji then purified the cursed water. At that moment, heavy rain began to fall. 50 years ago, such rain had enraged the great fire dragon, burning down an entire village. To prevent a recurrence of that disaster, Yuji confronted the great fire dragon alone. The dragon crossed a river, the waters of which did not harm it, but boiled the fish and generated fog as the river evaporated. The great fire dragon headed for another river, and Yuji declared that the battle was about to begin. Physical enhancement and freezing magic did not significantly harm the dragon. Continuing the fight was dangerous, so Yuji commanded Proud Wolf to go to the next river. Yuji used the river to slow the dragon, then unleashed a flood from a water barrier he had prepared at the first river, knocking down the dragon. Despite this, the dragon still had strength to rise and spew flames at everyone, but Yuji activated a barrier in time to protect them. As the dragon prepared to launch a second fireball towards the city, Yuji, relying on his magic recovery items, immediately unleashed a powerful ice spell. After a struggle, Yuji won the fight and obtained the great fire dragon's gem. At this time, the slimes also discovered a suspicious machine. After finishing, Yuji returned to the armor shop and took the great fire dragon's gem from the slime's mouth. The shopkeeper was inwardly shocked. At night, Yuji brought a suspicious machine to the Adventurers Guild for appraisal and discovered it was an artificial rainmaking device owned by the guild, but the guild's markings had been removed. The next day, Yuji retrieved his legendary armor and was about to leave for the next city when the shopkeeper asked if he intended to leave a name behind. Yuji responded that he preferred to keep a low profile. Later, Yuji arrived at the Adventurers Guild in a new town and noticed he was being watched. He promptly abandoned his mission and sent slimes to monitor the area. He found out that these 2 individuals were connected to the assassins who had previously tried to kill him. Just then, a priest with his followers approached Yuji. The priest explained that the city's guild had fallen into the hands of the cult of the Redeeming Moon. He intended to mimic church rituals to honor fallen comrades, but more people began following him, including a bald zealot. The priest made him his right-hand man, but the zealot had greater ambitions. One day, the priest received a divine message to dissolve the cult but disobeyed to avoid losing his companions. Days later, the cult was attacked, and its members were killed by the bald zealot who deceived people with the promise of redemption and committed heinous acts. The priest felt responsible and declared Yuji, capable of wielding the divine dagger, a messenger from heaven destined to thwart the bald zealot's plans. The following day, when Yuji looked for the priest, he was told they had left for the forest. Yuji followed the slime's trail deep into the forest where the priest and his followers reached a tree hollow. Using a pendant, the priest temporarily lifted a curse and entered. They encountered zealous followers, and after using resistance magic, they made a forceful breakthrough. Yuji arrived and used a curse-breaking spell. They reached the final room, the headquarters of the cult. Despite the risks, the priest went forward, fulfilling a divine message that his death could awaken a sage. He quickly dealt with the cult followers, but suddenly, a young follower bound the priest with magic and attacked with lightning, claiming Yuji was the sage. The bald zealot recognized the sage's power but declared everything was ending as his plan was in its final stages. He then used a corrupt light to curse the fallen followers, turning them into humanoid monsters. Just as the young follower was about to strike a final blow, Yuji broke through the wall. The bald zealot ordered the humanoid monsters to attack, but Yuji countered with a fireball. Regaining consciousness, the bald zealot and the follower had moved to the next room, where the zealot used a device to absorb the dragon's grace, gaining immense power but undergoing a physical transformation. Yuji immediately cast a fireball upon arrival, but by then, the bald zealot had transformed into a huge monster, wildly attacking everyone. And he soon unleashed a beam of light from his mouth. In response, Yuji quickly set up a barrier for protection and ordered the ground slimes to launch fireballs. However, the zealot dodged the fireballs effortlessly due to his speed. Yuji then unleashed multiple fireballs, but the bald zealot cleverly evaded them all. Following this, Yuji teleported fireballs in a random shooting pattern, but to no effect. The zealot was not only fast, but also resilient. Thinking quickly, Yuji threw the slimes into the air, who then released blue and legendary armors for Proud Wolf and the slimes to wear. With the armor's enhancement, Proud Wolf's speed increased significantly, and the magic power of the magic slimes was also greatly strengthened. Feeling uneasy, the bald zealot was hit hard by a fireball glance, but he immediately regenerated his body. While dodging Yuji's attacks, he used the cult followers to heal his wounds and even strengthen his power. Realizing the strength of the curse, Yuji thought of a plan. While the zealot used the curse for healing, Yuji cast a purification spell, preventing him from recovering smoothly. Suddenly, the bald zealot attacked Yuji at the speed of light. Just as the barrier was about to break, Yuji fully exerted his power, binding the zealot's limbs. Proud Wolf and the slimes formed a massive magical net, tightly binding the zealot. After a final powerful attack, the zealot was defeated. However, a mysterious oracle suddenly activated, absorbing magic around, even drawing in the minions. A bright light emitted, feeling ominous, eventually forming a shining blue star. A new sage was born from the death of the bald zealot, who turned out to be an ancient sage, who appeared long ago but died fighting the blue dragon. The bald zealot had used his and the cult followers' lives in a ritual akin to summoning a deity, awakening the ancient sage. The ancient sage used the same techniques as Yuji, causing an explosion that made the ground collapse. Yuji applied buffs to everyone and directed the slimes to attack with fireballs, but they were easily blocked. Frustrated, Yuji spread out the slimes and used the barrier as their base, launching fireball magic collectively. The sage blocked each one with one hand, nearly killing a slime with a casual wave. Yuji watched his MP drain continuously as the ancient sage released powerful spells effortlessly, making him wonder if the sage had infinite magic power. Then, Yuji gathered the slimes above, forming a barrier, but the sage froze them instantly. Yuji exerted his power to shatter the ice instantly, and the slimes regrouped to form a massive fireball, hurling it towards the sage. After the dust settled, the sage seemed unharmed, as if nothing had happened. Both sides launched their attacks, clashing with great force. Yuji frowned in concentration, but ultimately, the sage could not withstand the assault and was defeated. By then, Yuji's MP had already plummeted into negative numbers. He thought it was over, but the ancient sage appeared unaffected and activated devices around the world, releasing the dragon's grace. which sent all magical creatures into a frenzy. For the first time, Yuji felt a real threat. A strange mist filled the air, and the rain that fell polluted the environment, making the monsters restless. At this moment, Yuji realized the gravity of the situation. The ancient sage explained his regret for dying while challenging the blue dragon in the past, and failing to fulfill his mission as a sage. Even if the sage defeated the blue dragon numerous times, it would always return. Therefore, in the name of redemption, he intended to destroy the world to break the cycle and stop the recurrence. However, Yuji did not agree with this method. The ancient sage cast a spell to make Yuji accept redemption, but fortunately, Yuji activated a barrier in time and chose to attack. Their attacks caused multiple explosions. Meanwhile, crazed magical beasts began attacking the city. With limited power, Yuji fought off the beasts and cleared them, with his MP reaching negative values again, indicating Yuji was about to use a special trick. News had already reached him that the city's adventurers were prepared with many healing potions, allowing Yuji to go all out. Seeing this, Yuji sent out slimes to assist and buffed all the adventurers. With Yuji's support, the magical beasts were easily handled, allowing him to focus solely on the ancient sage. A priest mentioned that when the sun and moon overlapped, divine punishment would descend. After drinking a mana restoration potion, Yuji's MP recovered significantly, and he used barriers as stepping stones to approach the sage closely. The ancient sage remained calm, knowing Yuji's physical strength would soon run out. Suddenly, the signs of divine punishment appeared. Ignoring everything, Yuji raised his hand, and a powerful attack descended from the sky, striking the ancient sage effectively. Even though the ancient sage was hit multiple times, he could not be completely defeated. Thus, he pulled out a divine artifact dagger. The ancient sage roared and launched 2 attacks. At that moment, Yuji threw a small path where the sun and moon overlapped, merging into one, and initiated an ultimate isolation barrier to block the ancient sage's counterattack, sealing his magic. Then, using the artifact, he stabbed the sage, and after a burst of bright light, the sage vanished into smoke. Everyone was amazed. Thus, Yuji finally defeated the ancient sage, and the sky returned to normal. Suddenly, Yuji collapsed, but Slimes and Proud Wolf quickly surrounded him. Yuji expressed relief at having protected himself with a barrier, acknowledging the close call. After the event, the city's adventurers celebrated with a toast, and Yuji set off alone on his adventure, only to encounter a frenzied tiger during a meal at the camp. The next day, Yuji dragged the body of the frenzied tiger to the Adventurers Guild to accept a quest. The receptionist mentioned that the reward would be distributed among all members, and asked Yuji to bring his team. However, Yuji explained that he always operated alone. The receptionist mistakenly thought all his teammates had died in battle and comforted Yuji not to be sad. At that moment, the branch manager came to check and asked Yuji if he was a high-ranking mage. Yuji honestly replied that he was just a beast tamer, a response that surprised everyone further. It was well known that a beast tamer had defended a city under abnormal beast attacks alone and had even defeated a legendary dragon. Now everyone wondered how Yuji would handle this situation.